to Heroes Forge, a Heroes of the Storm podcast.
Forgers, what is going on? Welcome to Season 2, Episode number 81 of Heroes Forge, a community-driven podcast all about Heroes of the Storm. This is your show host, Jeff Reynolds, and I'm here with the co-host of the show, as always, who this week is more awesome than the season premiere of Game of Thrones. It's Kristen Ashton.
Oh, boom! Is it because I get to the point? Is it because I finish my stories, Jeff?
That's right. Absolutely. And all the other amazing reasons that Game of Thrones is so awesome. I mean, Kristen, I know you watch this show. I mean, and us recording this show on Sunday night can be tough because, you know, Game of Thrones is out there and it's kind of lurking.
It's true. It's always in the background, nicking away at my brain because you know what's going on. And I think this is the year we get to see winter. But again, my hopes have been up and then they've fallen. And then I played Witcher 3, and Witcher 3 was basically Game of Thrones. But now the story's been completed, so I don't know where I stand anymore. I have to find my place in this Game of Thrones universe once more.
Yeah, the hiatus from the seasons has been the longest I think it's ever been since we've seen a new episode of Game of Thrones. I actually watched the last season a few weeks ago to kind of gear up for it. And geez, that show is so good. I mean, it's so good. If you don't watch Game of Thrones, get out there and watch it. I mean, it's incredible.
Yeah, and last season had some incredible moments, namely the big war scene with Jon Snow. That, hands down, is one of the greatest modern medieval wartime scenes I think I've ever seen. It was just raw. There was a lot of realism in there. It addressed a lot of what could have happened. I mean, it was really cool.
Yeah, it is. The cinematography is really stellar. I mean, it's a very, very awesome episode. And like we said before, we usually record this show 7 p.m. on Sunday nights, but next week you won't have a Game of Thrones syndrome, because on the 23rd we're going to record a little early. We're recording at 1 o'clock Pacific, 1 o'clock in the afternoon on the 23rd next week, just due to some unforeseen issues that are coming up. So at 1 o'clock next week, we'll see you right on twitch.tv/Amove TV for the live recording, and then the show will of course be posted on Sunday night because, Kristen, over these 81 episodes we have not missed a week.
That's true. We have always had an episode barring BlizzCon, right? Because there's so much to do at BlizzCon. And guess what? There's a note here that you put in. How many days away, Jeff?
We've got 108 days until BlizzCon festivities begin. I count down the seconds. I'm telling you, it is an amazing event. We talk about it on the show constantly because it's where all of the Nexus comes together, basically. I mean, we're all there and we're passionate about the same thing, and it's BlizzCon 108 days from now. I'm already formulating what I want to see there, Kristen, but we've got lots of heroes in between now and then to play and new heroes to be released before BlizzCon even is a thing.
Exactly. And not only those new heroes, but who are they going to hold back until BlizzCon to release, right? Who is ready to go now that they're going to save for the big reveal with probably an even bigger cinematic?
Yeah, and you know what really boggles my mind is how they sit in a room and they think, well, you know, what heroes are worthy enough to wait until BlizzCon to reveal, and what heroes are ready to go now that, you know, I don't want to say aren't worthy enough, but aren't that same status as like a Deckard Cain, a Innkeeper, or, you know, even, you know, some of these heroes that we've talked about. A Leroy Jenkins, I feel like, is really a BlizzCon hero. Those types of heroes. And then we have these other heroes that come out like Cassia and those things, which are kind of like off season, I feel.
Oh, you're absolutely right. And I think you can use not worthy enough, right? Because it would be, I guess, sad of us to not recognize that certain heroes have way more clout across all of the Blizzard games and all of the Blizzard universe than other heroes. Like the Varian and Ragnaros reveal, that was pretty big. I mean, Kel'Thuzad. I honestly don't think we'll see him until a BlizzCon event. I think it would be very, very sad if he did not get a huge celebration to usher him in.
Yeah, but that's the other issue, is that there are so many characters that at least I think of that deserve that need to be in the Nexus, right? So does that mean that we have to wait years, or are they just gonna, open the floodgates and give us 5 heroes at BlizzCon? Innkeeper, Kel'Thuzad, these characters that we've been waiting for forever to come in.
There's no telling, and I like to imagine it's all based on an arm wrestling competition. I like to imagine, you throw the names into the pot as to who's going to get released at BlizzCon this year, and then you physically fight it out to see who is the toughest hero designer of them all.
That's right. And if the arm wrestling goes into a stalemate where they're stuck in the same place for more than 15 minutes, they do a potato sack race, and whoever wins that gets released at BlizzCon.
There we go. And now we know the secrets, everyone. So if you work at Blizzard, remember to buff up those arms and get on those box jumps.
Absolutely. Have you been playing any other games this week? I picked up this game that was free on Steam. It was a MOBA. It's called Battle Right. Have you ever heard of it?
No, what is it about? What does it look like?
It's cool. It's like an arena-based fight, 2v2 or 3v3, that you're in this arena and you have health pods and stuff. It's got a definite MOBA feel to it, but it was free this weekend on Steam. It's normally $17, I believe, but I picked it up for free and played it a little bit. And in the end, it just made me miss Heroes.
Oh, that's always so sad, right? When somebody introduces you to a game that they really, really, really like, but then you play it and you go, oh, this is actually a different version of X game that I really like. So it ends up being this comparison the whole time, and it's not the new game's fault. It's just what you were exposed to first.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that Heroes has this secret sauce that is everything that you've done in all of these other Blizzard games, and how you're tied to these characters and how you feel connected to their lore, and the conversations that they have with each other are just great. I mean, that is the secret sauce for me that keeps Heroes fresh and awesome continuously, and that is exactly why we do the show week after week after week. So if this is your first time listening to HeroesForge, what we do is we take a character from that said universe that isn't in Heroes of the Storm yet, and we imagine what they would be like, and we do that through forging. So let's do it. Let's forge.
Let's forge.
Kristen, you have a lot of fans out there. I'm telling you, a lot of people are voting for your builds. I mean, or for your kits. They are so awesome. And, a lot of people are supporting everything you do. If you don't know, you can head on over to our Twitter, which is @ForgeHeroes, all one word, obviously, on Twitter. And you can look at all of the builds and the kits that we talk about on the show, and you can vote for which one you think won the week. Kristen, you won last week. But I had an idea, because I hear a lot of the talk around the Heroes of the Storm community about what heroes they want. And there's one that kind of rings true through all the threads of what type of hero they want.
It's true. One we don't really have in the Nexus. We don't have a draenei. Not a single draenei in the Nexus yet, which is pretty interesting.
So there are lots to choose from, and we've talked about Velen on the show already, which would be awesome. I mean, I feel that's a BlizzCon reveal right there. I mean, he's such a prominent character in World of Warcraft, huge to a lot of players. So we kind of branched off a little bit. And who are we forging this evening? This
evening, we're taking on Yrel, one of the draenei from Warlords of Draenor, actually.
Yeah, which I didn't get to play a lot of, but I know on these threads of people saying that they want a draenei in the game. She is one of them. Yrel is one that is prominent through the story in Warlords of Draenor, and I think she's a badass. I mean, total would be an awesome hero in the Nexus.
And I think you very well may win this one, because Paladins and I have kind of a sordid history, because when I hear of Paladins, most of them I think of betrayal and being too big for their own britches, right? Uther abandoned Arthas. If Uther had stood strong and stood by Arthas, there's a good chance one of the greatest stories in the Blizzard lore history would have never been told. And so here we have another paladin who rises up to become Exarch. And once again, I'm conflicted because I guess there's so little conflict when it comes to her character. She is so sure of herself.
Right, and there might even be a hidden dark secret in her story that we don't know of and that they still haven't talked about through Legion. I mean, the research that I did for this character before going in here had told a lot of that. I get the same feeling that you do, where there are clear, shining light moments, and then there are some that are a little more cloudy, where you're not exactly sure what the heck is going on in this situation.
Definitely. And especially with a past as, I guess, undeveloped as hers was, because she was unique to Warlords. She is other dimension, other timeline draenei, who takes the place of Velen number 2. I'm trying to find a good way to describe these second worlds now that we have these timelines and dimensions shifting.
Too many timelines. Well, you can never have too many timelines. I mean, it's an awesome way to kind of morph what we already know, and she's a big part of that. So what's her intro? Give us a little backstory in case someone doesn't know about Yrel.
Okay, for Yrel. Appearing first in Warlords of Draenor, Yrel served as the successor to other Velen following his sacrifice on Second Draenor. Originally an acolyte within the sacred halls of the Temple of Karabor, her life was shattered after orcs invaded and subjected her to a period of slavery. After some time, she was found and rescued by adventurers that had made their way through a portal to the past Draenor. Freeing her of her bonds, she was helped along until eventually taking her place as Exarch of the past draenei on the Second Draenor.
Everybody got that? Did you get your maps out, your Indiana Jones maps? And you can see, well, we went from here to the Second Draenor to the Third Draenor, over back to Azeroth, and then around the Dark Portal, and then we just came right back to Third Azeroth. I mean, it's a crazy story to keep straight in your head if you haven't played the game, which I didn't. I didn't play Warlords like this. But, I mean, she, like we said before, she's a badass. She's featured in a few of the cut scenes out there in the expansion, and willing to sacrifice herself, willing to, take up this mantle and become leader, basically, and just do some damage.
Exactly. And of course, the famous cutscene being her standing down one of the major orcs in the storyline, and then she has to res her friend, and she cuts a guy in the shoulder, and then they're teleported off after she gets a final word. It's pretty epic.
Yeah, it's very epic, and it's inspiring. It's one of those battlefield moments that's really inspiring. But Uther ruined paladins for you, huh?
Yes, Uther was definitely one of the main reasons. That and the Jedi. The extreme Jedi who believe there's only good in the world, and who say that funny quote, only Siths deal in absolutes, a saying that proves only they deal in absolutes as well. It's that whole idea that being good or bad doesn't matter if you can't see the gray of situations.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's where Star Wars is going in the future as well, if I had to guess. And Ogre22 in the chat is saying that she's fighting Blackhand in that cutscene. That's who it is. Blackhand, who is also forged on this show because he's a badass too. I mean, there's a lot of cool characters to talk about.
Oh, certainly. And I mean, she's got a huge hammer. She gets wings eventually. So it's not that, she herself isn't awesome. It's just, I guess deep down, I'm not 100% good. So I find it a challenge to try and forge something that is purely untouched by evil.
Well, I'm sure you put a little bit of spice in your build. I'm sure. I can't wait. But since you did win last week, Kristen, I get the pleasure of going first this week. And what we're going to do is we're just going to build some kits for Yrel here and talk through them. So the first thing we talk about is their role classification in the game. And I, believe it or not, went with Warrior.
I'm not too surprising, right? Because paladins are covered in armor. It's kind of like in D&D. First time I played a cleric, I had no idea clerics were covered in so much armor. I thought clerics were just gonna be, priests, but they're not. They're battle heavy. You're supposed to get in there and hit things. Very much like a paladin.
Yeah, and that's exactly the same way that I thought about it when I played D&D with the clerics too. You picture these monks, you picture people like, with the shaved spot on the top of their head, that kind of stuff, but it is not the case. And I think Yrel is one of those characters that is easily made into any of the classes in the game. I think you could easily make her a support, an assassin, a warrior, a multi-class hero. I mean, there's a lot that you can do. So I went with warrior with this trait. It's called Light Help Us. So in the past, Yrel has been majorly inspired by the sacrifice of others, and I wanted to bring that feeling to her character in the Nexus as well. So with this trait, Yrel is healed for a portion of her health every time a friendly hero is defeated on the battlefield. Heroes will need to be in the ring of this ability for Yrel to gain its benefits, and this will make Yrel a warrior that can last even when the battle is going south for the friendly team, and possibly even turn the tide of battle on the enemy.
Oh, nice. So is this an aura in practice?
Yeah, it's kind of like you would have the dotted Lucio healing lines, right? You would be able to see what friendlies are in your area, and if they happen to go down, she would gain a heal from them going down, and maybe there would be some animation with like light coming out of them and going to her to heal her up.
Oh, that's pretty nice. That's kind of a twisted way. She feeds off of the death of her friends.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, they're saying there's light in all of us. There's light in all of this and stuff. So that light is going to aid the friendly team, even if you fall in battle.
True, and it speaks entirely to her character because at least two major mentors sacrificed themselves in her presence to kind of spur her on toward the greater fate that she's supposed to have.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's where I got that idea from. And it's something that we don't have right now, right? You don't benefit from friendlies dying, and this is not something you'd obviously go in and, have a strat to purposefully die to heal her. Or maybe you would if you were Murky or, Lost Vikings or something like that to give her heals. But so it's a different kind of feel to it.
Yeah, so speaking of Lost Vikings and Murky, would they give her as much healing as a regular hero?
I was thinking about this too, and I started thinking about, Butcher's Blood or the quest talents that you can take where you're gaining, hits off of Samoro's illusions and things like that. So I'm going to go with yes. I think she does get a full heal from it because that keeps it consistent, and I'm not thinking a super Rhaegar status heal here, like Rhaegar's alt heal status. I'm talking just enough to benefit that may help you continue the battle.
Totally. And you could think with the Murky, you'd have a battery because you just lay your egg nearby. And as long as your team is very protective, you could get aggressive as to where the egg is laid and just act as a battery to keep her healed. So maybe in that case, too, you could go with a little lighter of a healer so you could have more damage.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of different ideas and strats in this trait, which I really love building around these characters and drafting around them. I think it's a game in its own. I was showing someone this game that had never played it before, and they were saying that they would watch just the drafting as an esport because it's like playing chess, right? Out drafting your enemy is a huge part of what we do.
It is. It absolutely is. But the interesting part, too, like chess, you do have to have a base amount of knowledge in order to understand what the heck even is going on. If something is a counter, if it's not. But you're absolutely right. It is a game of chess, especially with the bands, too.
Yeah, and maybe we'll see more bands in the future too. Who knows? The next thing we talk about here on this hero is if they were brought into the Nexus and they had a specialty mount that came with them, what would that mount be? And I'm going with a Swift Brown Ram, which is actually a mount from World of Warcraft. It's like a mountain ram, and it's got purple armor on it, and I think it looks really good when the draenei are riding it. So I'm like, you know what? We need another. We brought the elephant mount in with Velen, right? So I'm thinking, what's another cool draenei mount? And I think the ram would look really, really awesome.
It's so true, and they're so cute, and they've got great battle armor, and their horns are just impressive. And oh my goodness, the horns could match one another. Maybe they both eat grass together. Who knows?
Yeah, it's a cool idea. And we have a ram already. Don't we have like a cyber ram that Mirrodin rides? It's like a ram that looks like a robot. Maybe I'm making this up, but I think that we have something like that already. So why not?
Yeah, why not? Especially with the horn matching thing too, right? Because then you can have even more color combination with your mount and your hero, because they decorate the horns the same, and who doesn't like it when your outfit perfectly matches the mount you have?
Oh, I love it. Unless you're going for the complete opposite on purpose, which also looks really funny too. Okay, let's get into some basic abilities that I came up with here. So for this warrior build, the first basic ability is called Take a Stand. So Take a Stand summons a shield that is made of light that remains in a set location on the battlefield for a short amount of time. This shield will block all incoming damage, and it'll also act as a wall for the enemy, quote unquote. Think of it like a Reinhardt shield, but stationary. Damage to the shield will feed Yrel's passive ability, which is her E. So if you've played Legion at all, you know when you're fighting for the Aegis of Agrimar, right? And you're fighting against Skovald, and there's this shield that pops up that's like this, circular shield that comes up and blocks all damage. I want her to be able to place something like that on the battlefield and kind of, manipulate it that way.
Totally. And as long as we get to hear, I am God King Skovald. Totally. Why would you not want this? Okay, so what's the range you can place this? How big is this thing? Because the one used against Skovald is pretty large, as well as Reinhardt's shield.
Yeah, it's not that big, right? And so it's basically used, like Chad is saying, to block skill shots, to block auto attacks, to kind of have to position yourself in a certain way. And the take to this give is that you're going to be in the same area as your friendly heroes. Someone could slide in and drop a mosh pit on you or whatever it is, and you could all be there. But you've got to really time it out to block those, hungering arrows or whatever's coming at you. And I think it could be pretty powerful if you could place it in the right spots.
Yeah, now, would it be an instant cast too, speaking of timing?
Yeah, I think so. I think you just cast it, the light comes out, it shows up there, and it stays in that same position for a set amount of time, maybe a few seconds, and you can kind of angle yourself around where it's coming from. And then there's the physics of other abilities coming in to hit you that don't necessarily come straight at you, right? So this might be a programming nightmare, because when I start thinking of things like Reinhardt, if we brought Reinhardt into the Nexus and he put up his shield, right, as soon as Asmodan throws that meteor that comes right over the top of that shield, that would be an ability that I believe would still be able to hit the heroes behind the shield. So are they going to implement that? Will the shield still be able to block that damage? This would be the same kind of questions with something like this.
Yeah, that is a very good question. And it would speak to the shape of the shield too, right? Indicating what kind of damage it could block and couldn't block. And I really like that idea where if you have a forward-facing shield, you totally could get wrecked by something that goes over and down, because that would make sense. Unless, you talent your shield into being this dome, then you could protect from everything.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I can think of a lot of other abilities like Gul'dan's ultimate, Reign of Destruction, things like that where the shots are not necessarily coming at you, but they're flying up and over. So that would be a whole nother can of worms that they would have to think about how that all would work. But anyway, that's for them to think about. Us is just thinking about fun things. The second thing here is called Radiant Light. This is her second basic ability. So this one works almost the same way that it does in World of Warcraft, Radiant Light. When activated, it creates a zone of holy light in a targeted location that heals allies during its duration. In addition, the power of the light guides their attacks, increasing their attack damage while in this zone. So I'm thinking of a little combo wombo with your shield, right? You could throw your shield up, you could be standing behind the shield, and then Yrel could drop radiant light on the ground for everyone that's behind the shield, and they could get healed up and also, have increased attack damage while they were standing on this radiant light.
Oh, interesting. Okay, so the shield doesn't last very long. So you'd want to pop the shield, absorb something, have the radiant light on the ground so that the shield is automatically up. Radiant light is still going so that their attacks do get the benefit of being able to move quickly. Not move quickly, but deal more damage.
Yeah. Dealing more damage and also getting a little bit of a heal. Kind of like a Yrel warrior ability, right? Where he can kind of heal AoE just like a tiny little bit, and it keeps people, in the fight. That's where you're really tanking, and then hopefully you're peeling off and doing some other things, and they have a little bit more health to continue on. That's where I see it here. So this is a little supporty, but still I think it fits in the tank genre.
It does, and it fits with the paladins. I mean, do you remember back in the day, the Pally Bubble?
Yeah,
the Bubble Paladin? You couldn't kill him. You could not kill those paladins.
Yeah, I play Warcraft with a friend of mine who is a paladin and will just jump off of a building and fly for, 35 minutes, go get a sandwich, come back, press the button to pop his bubble right before he hits the ground and doesn't die. I mean, that kind of stuff is crazy when you don't have a flying mount.
Yep, it's the tank that can heal itself, but not little passive heals, legitimately big heals. And it's interesting because I wonder with the lore, if you get a paladin out of their armor, do they lose that tankishness that they have? And then they're simply just an over muscled priest.
We'd have to find out. We would definitely have to find out. Yeah, and Chad is saying, too, that it's just like Tyrell's, but health and attack speed rather than movement and attack speed. Also, Tyrell's is kind of like a burst that comes out, right? This would be more of an area you have to be standing on in order to gain the attack speed buff. As soon as you stepped out of this small area, you wouldn't have it anymore.
Oh, cool. So you could jump in and jump out of it, but it doesn't fade. It's either immediately on or immediately off.
Yeah, that's at least how I was thinking of it. Just to kind of give like this, holy ground that you would be able to do more with. And it all kind of feeds into the third basic ability here, which is called Hold On to Our Faith. So as Yrel takes damage, she will start to fill a meter for this passive ability. When enough damage has been taken, this passive ability will automatically activate and stun all enemy heroes that are close to her in range. I'm thinking it would take about a third of her health to send a wave of stun forward, but the numbers would need to be tested out, obviously. I'm not sure if that would be OP or whatever, because this is basically a... not a divine shield, but what's the other one? The one that stuns everybody that's around you that Uther has. It's basically that ability, but you can't control when it's going to happen other than taking damage.
Ah, nice. So very much like Raynor's heal. You get knocked down to a certain percentage, it goes off whether you want it to or not. That's cool. Oh, so would it be as strong as Uther's? And it's Divine Storm, I think. Divine Storm.
Divine Storm.
So would it be as strong as that? Would the visual be as intense? Because that's pretty wicked when he drops that.
I'm not sure. I think that because you don't control when it goes off, it wouldn't feel as heroic, and it's counterable because you can do ranged attacks to kind of make this happen. So I'm not sure if it would be that big of an AoE circle. Maybe not. Maybe you have to be standing right up next to her in order for it to stun you, which you got to be pretty close for Uther too. But I'm thinking... the take on this one is that you're not choosing when it goes off. So that's what makes it feel less heroic.
Certainly. And I would imagine too, you'd see, would she have like a percentage charge bar like you have with the Diva and the Tracer? But instead of being able to turn it on as soon as it hits 100. So that way you always know how close you are.
Yeah, and the enemy team, I think, would be able to know as well. Just like with the mech and all that stuff. I think they would be able to know when you were gonna, pop this stun. And it would just go off, stun everybody that's around you. And I think it might be overpowered. I mean, I think it might be really powerful because stuns win games.
Oh, they do. They do all the time. And this makes me think she would be kind of like a Johanna or a Genji. You just ignore them. They're gonna pop their health block. They're gonna pop their shield. So just, whatever. There are squishier targets on the field.
Yeah, better people to be attacking than the tank, Just like in all my other kits that we create on the show, I want to punish people for doing the wrong thing, which sometimes is the right thing. I mean, not every situation is the same situation, but this was one of the ideas that I had for that. Now let's get into some heroics here. The first one is called Dauntless Fury, and this is kind of an interesting idea. So this ability can be cast on a friendly hero, and they will gain the Dauntless Fury buff. This buff allows the hero to have a chance to what I'm calling multi-strike with their auto attacks. This means that if they are auto attacking, there's a chance that their attacks will do double damage, or it will count as 2 attacks instead of 1. This buff also reduces the cost of all the target's abilities to 0. Also known as they don't have to pay for any of their abilities using mana, fury, etc., anything that they use to pay.
So it's kind of like another stim drone, except even better because you don't have to pay to play, baby. You can just go nuts and use, because then in this case, you could take a very high cost damage dealing assassin, somebody whose mana is terrible, but you take away the mana restriction. And it just gets disgusting. Yeah,
so, I mean, I love the stim drone comparison because that's what it would feel like. Although there is a little bit of RNG in this because you are not stimmed where you're attacking faster and you're able to, count on that. I see it more for the fact of that you don't spend any mana, fury, or whatever it is you're going to spend to use your abilities, and possibly landing a double hit on your auto attack could be huge for like Falstads, Lunaras, those heroes that depend on that stuff. Imagine a Lunara that landed a double auto attack and then didn't have to pay for any abilities.
Gross. It's so disgusting because of that poison damage. Just get out of my game. We don't want this. I mean, the enemy team would need some serious burst healing to make sure you could get through that amount of damage, but at the same time it's timed. So if you're with a team that's kind of on point, you just run away.
Yeah,
and you may not need such burst healing.
Yeah, absolutely. It's like fighting in an earthquake or doing all of those things. If you see the bloodlust go out, don't engage, wait till it's over. Those kind of feelings to it as well. And what do you think about this? Chad is bringing up the fact of does it affect heroic abilities? Do heroics not cost any mana? I think that might be a level 20 talent for this ability, right? Also, heroics are cost 0 too.
I guess that raises the question, would it matter? Because heroics in general have very long cooldowns. So even if the heroic doesn't cost mana, it doesn't increase the number of times it can be cast.
That's a really good point. I guess you'd have to feel it out. You'd really have to feel it. And what I'm thinking of right now is imagine a Vala that had this Dauntless Fury buff on her and also a stim drone. So you are auto-attacking way faster, possibly landing double attacks, and you don't have to pay for anything that you're doing.
Dude, that Vala would shred the enemy team. I say less than a minute, at least 2 would be dead, if not 3.
Yeah, there's a highlight reel in there somewhere for sure. Now, the second heroic is a little more of what we think heroics should be. This one is called Protector, and it's very simple. When activated, all friendly heroes in the selected area will become protected for a short amount of time and are not able to take damage. Think of like a whole team of Varians. I can't imagine anything like that. Think of a whole team of Varians that are just protected. So she'll call forth the power of the light and it'll blast forward, protecting all friendly heroes in range. And Kristen, I'm going to steal your idea. They're all going to get the Pally bubble.
No, dude, she was supposed to be a pure paladin. And what's the paladin got to do with nightmares? What does a paladin have to do with nightmares?
So yeah, think about that. A full protected team for a short amount of time.
Oh, I mean, it's another one you'd simply run away from, but the despair that would hit when you go in for that final kill and that protection comes in, and then the healer can get everyone healed up underneath, and the fight just goes south from there. You can see yourself losing if you close your eyes without trying too hard.
And I also imagine that this protects you from tower shots. It protects you from core shots. Imagine you got 5% left on the core. There's one person standing there. Maybe it's just her. She could pop this protector and kind of just do a little bit more damage before she goes down.
There are no words for how amazing this would be for your team, but how disgusting it would be for the enemy team, especially because of the bubbles. That's just insulting, because you'd have skins that make the bubbles look like animals, pandas. Maybe they get that transparent sheen so they look like bath bubbles, and it's just an insult to the game.
Yeah, it's an insult to the enemy team. I love it. So very similar to stuff that we see in the Nexus already, but a total usable heroic ability. So that's my kit there. So basically, if I had to sum this whole thing up, you're in there and you are tanking, and you're able to stay in for a very long time with your shield and your radiant light buff on the ground. And then also you're stunning the enemy constantly. Stuns are coming out if you're taking damage. And then of course, when you rock in your heroics here, giving someone that dauntless fury or being able to protect your whole team at the same time, it could be really powerful.
It is. And what I really like about this build is that you've made it so that nobody wants to attack her, which is pretty funny because of all of the heroes in the Warcraft universe I would consider seasoned veterans. She would not be one of them. Right.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. Yeah, you don't want to attack her, right? You don't want to be anywhere attacking her. Or also, though, she is still benefiting from you attacking other people in the respect of if they do go down, she becomes healthier. She gets health, and so it would be a really cool balance to play with.
Yeah, it's really, really awesomely twisted that she would get that health from her fallen foes, but at the same time, make it so that no one would even want to fight her. They'd want to fight the people that would give her health back.
Yeah. It's neat. It's a cool idea. And I can't wait to hear all of your cool ideas for your build. But before we do that, we have some people that we need to thank, just like we thank every single week. First and foremost, as always, we have to thank our patrons for supporting this show. Thank you for continually supporting us throughout these 81 episodes. All of you are rock stars, and we can't thank you enough. If you'd like to become a patron and help support this show week after week, you can head over to patreon.com/HeroesForge and check out our pledge page there. It is awesome. And I can't believe I just said pledge page without getting tongue-tied. But I guess that's from doing this week after week. Also, we want to thank the people that have given us a 5-star review on iTunes. When you drop us a 5-star review on iTunes, we give you a shout out right here on the show. And it really helps the show grow. When people search for Heroes of the Storm in iTunes for podcasts, ours pops up there amongst all of the other awesome Heroes of the Storm podcasts that you should be listening to. All right, Kristen, let's get on with it. What role are you going with for your Yrel build?
I went with a support because she never struck me as someone who ever wanted to be in the fight, ever. And from what I read, when you play with her, you have to kind of cheer her up and remind her to have faith in herself, to push her forward to keep going. So in my mind, that kind of translated to somebody who would want to help, then support those around her who are trying to support her. And it's this positive feedback loop.
No, and totally. I totally feel that same thing. Even in that cutscene with Blackhand, like we were talking about before, it took someone else going down in order for her to get inspired to, you know, wreak havoc on Blackhand. And it's pretty intense how the ship blows up and the whole thing goes down. I mean, it's really cool, but it took that moment of inspiration to make it happen. So I totally get it.
Yep, she needed to see the guy fall so she could find the strength to throw a weapon, raise the other guy, and then trust in the skills of her friend to complete the job.
Yeah, and Khadgar, right? Doesn't he launch like 1,000,000 missiles at the ship or something and it blows up? Yeah, good old Khadgar. We should do Khadgar on this show some point.
We absolutely should. I love Khadgar. He was hilarious in the Legion expansion, especially when you get the little bubble communicator. He's such a dad. He's just duct taping spells together and going, I hope this works.
Okay, it's on the list. We will do Khadgar at some point. Let's get into traits. What is your support trait here?
Okay, this one's called Validation, you know, because Velen gave her so much validation that we need to honor Velen, second Velen. Whenever you miss a skill shot, it has a random chance of course correcting and hitting a nearby intended target instead.
Oh, nice. Oh, I love it. I love RNG. This is great. Oh, this is great. Okay, so is there some sort of animation that goes with this? Like you launch a skill shot, which I'm sure we're going to hear about in a second. It misses, and then it kind of gets guided by something in order to hit another target?
It would have to, right? It would have to orally be noted so that the enemy team knows that something has happened, or your team knows that something has happened. But I would imagine it wouldn't be a single person. It would kind of be the light. Maybe it gets tiny wings or something, because the light loves wings.
Absolutely. Okay, this is a really, really cool idea, and I love that it has RNG. I honestly don't know how random abilities in the Nexus would fit and if they would feel good. It's something people complain about in Hearthstone all the time, is it doesn't take me any skill to be able to win, because even if I have skill, this skill shot might not even hit the target that I want it to, even if I miss, because of that random deal to it. But I love it. I think it's really cool, and it adds really cool moments to games if it works out, and it adds moments that are cool if it doesn't work out.
Yeah, definitely. And it gives beginner players a little bit of a safety net, especially when they're trying to pick up what here my build is going to be very skill shot reliant hero.
Very cool. Okay, what about mounts?
The mount, it's her golden wings, right? When she gets tossed, what is it, the axe, and she grows wings because she got an axe? That's pretty awesome. I would want wings if I caught a weapon with my hand. So she would sprout her golden wings, and she would be carried next to her next destination by the feathers of fate.
You're doing very well with this paladin stuff. I love it, because paladins love wings.
Thank you. I've tried my hardest, guys, to build you a paladin that does justice to paladin.
You know, I have never played a paladin in Warcraft, but I have picked I think we forged 3 paladins on this show already, and I think I picked all 3 of them. So I must be like secretly in love with wings.
What wings, big armor, huge hammers, the light? I mean, there are many things that paladins love, but I think more than anything, paladins love justice.
That's right, and my justice is don't attack the tank. Anyway, I love the Golden Wings idea. I love it because we can give it to other heroes, right? So we could give it to, as always, I bring up Murky would be awesome with these big golden wings. You know, Asmodan, Rexar, maybe Misha has these little wings that fly next to Rexar.
Oh, well, the Misha thing, you'd have to go with the joke that Misha would have super tiny wings that aren't quite big enough to carry her big bear butt around the Nexus. So maybe her little toes are dragging on the ground.
It's great. I love it. Let's get into some basic abilities here. What's your first one?
All right. First one is called Inspire. When activated, Yrel summons forth a latent power locked deep within, shooting forth a skill shot of armor that protects all allies it hits for a brief period of time.
All right, so this is a skill shot that penetrates, right? So it's going through heroes, and this is one of those skill shots that's going to benefit from your trait.
Exactly. I mean, this thing is basically Uther cranked up to 15. What if Uther had nothing but skill shots? Let's run with this here.
Okay.
What if?
I love it. It's great, and I love that it goes through heroes, and so does your trait help you if you're out of range of a hero? For example, let's say you have a Vala that's just a little bit too far away from where you're shooting your arrow. So essentially you're going to miss, but you're rolling that RNG dice to see if it might become empowered by the light and actually reach her. Is that how you figure it might work?
That is a great idea and a question I hadn't considered. But when you bring it up, what if you had a talent that expanded the range of the course correction potential?
Oh, absolutely. Excuse me while I click that talent choice right now as we record this. I mean, that would be exactly what you would do. It would expand your range out. Oh, that'd be great.
Yeah, and it would be great too because then you could build for heroes that really, really like to dive deep before coming back. Genjis, right? I mean, that's an issue with Brightwing sometimes, is if you have heroes that just go way too far, you can't quite reach them. So extending any sort of range for a heal makes them that much more viable as they go deep because they do have added protection.
Oh, I love it. That is so cool. And I love this skill shot that gives armor, right? I mean, armor, since the armor changes in the game, has become such a huge part of how we play this game now. I really like it.
Yeah, and I'm thinking the armor, too, that protects against everything. Not just a spell, not just basic ability, but very much like when Varian turns on his, you're protected. Everyone who gets hit by this is protected for a brief period of time. So much like yours, much like Zarya's shield, right? It's instant if you hit it, and it can protect from a rogue Li Ming orb, which can be devastating sometimes.
But no bubbles, you're saying?
Maybe tiny bubbles? I don't know. I don't see this one with bubbles. I see lots of glowing yellow light.
Love it. That is the light indeed. Let's get on to your second basic ability here.
Okay, second one is Radiant Light. And this one was kind of changed because I know there's that Radiant Light where you get that circle on the ground, like yours. So this one is a skill shot. Yrel summons forth a zone of light that shoots from her fingertips, much like Li Ming's laser. This beam of radiance provides a heal over time to those fellow battle friends it hits.
All right, so you're shooting this laser, and if it hits you, you get a heal over time. You don't have to stand in the laser to receive a heal over time.
Oh, you have to be in the laser to receive the heal over time. So I imagine if there's course correction for this one, it's kind of like that auto aim you can turn on in some first-person shooters. It would slowly nudge over to the nearest hero. Just, a little tap.
So it's the reverse Li Ming laser, basically. Instead of dealing damage, you're healing it.
Exactly, and you'd never want to cross the beams with Li Ming because there's no telling what would happen. It would be chaos, and I mean, to Li Ming's eyes, it would probably be beautiful and awesome, but Yrel might not like the evil that spews forth.
Yeah, the no wings. She wouldn't like that. I love this. I think this is so cool because, I mean, the Li Ming laser is not a super easy thing to control. So it would be, affected by your trait that you've chosen, which is really cool. And maybe even the beam kind of bends itself to come back in and hit a hero automatically and then comes right back out even. I mean, it's really neat.
Yeah, that's a great idea where it bends a little instead of nudging you. It just kind of takes a different shape to hit the hero. So it's a beam in loose terms based on who's playing her.
Yeah, and the light protects you. I mean, that's really what's going on. You got to stand in the light. That's the same feel I had with Radiant Light too. So we're on the same page there. It's awesome. So what's your last basic ability?
Okay, the last one is called Throw of Vengeance, and this is based on the cinematic when she tosses that hammer as hard as she can To help her allies, Yrel summons a last-ditch attempt to help by throwing whatever she is holding in a skill shot. If this hits, it stuns the target after dealing what I'm calling annoyance damage. It's not enough to kill somebody or seriously maim them, but it's enough to get their attention.
I think it's great. I think it's really great. This is a Lieutenant Morales grenade, but with a stun, and it's a skill shot.
There we go. Morales grenade, that's perfect. That is the perfect kind of annoyance damage, right? Because everyone, if you've been killed by a Morales grenade, oh, so annoying.
I've said it before, and I'll say it again. There are very few things in this game that feel better than getting a kill with a Morales grenade.
It does. It feels amazing, mostly because that thing's pretty challenging to aim. So if you're a whiz with those things, boom, grenade build all the way.
Yeah, and it's kind of like you throw the grenade out and you can walk away from the explosion before it happens and don't even look back. And you get that kill on a Murky, probably.
Worth it though, right? Because you still get the ding, and you still know you practiced exploding it at the correct time and distance from the enemy.
Yeah, and this is so cool too, because this ability you're talking about here also benefits from your trait. I mean, so your trait's going to be hitting constantly because it's got a lot of skill shots to feed off of in order for it to randomly benefit you.
Exactly, and maybe you start off with a 25% chance that it'll proc, but as you talent, you can increase that percentage, and maybe by the time you hit level 20, it's a 100% chance.
Oh, so you're just a healing machine out there and a stunning machine. I love it. Stuns win games. All right, what is your first heroic to go along with this?
Okay, the first one is called Vindicator's Fury. Possessed by the light, Yrel is floated into the air as power works through her body, smiting all those in range, kind of like a paladin thunderstorm that issues from her fingertips.
All right, so like unlimited power.
Exactly, except you kind of know, you remember in Beauty and the Beast when the prince is lifted off the ground and you get the choir singing, oh, and the hands are out and like lights shooting from the eyes and the mouth and the nose and the fingertips and the toes. Very much like that.
Right, and I love how you worded this first part of this, possessed by the light. That's a very Kristen way of naming this.
Well, I mean, she's taken over by the light, and the light possesses people. Let's not kid ourselves. When it takes over your body, although I guess the possession is against your will, so maybe she does want the light to take over.
Well, good and evil is in the eye of the beholder.
There we go.
So who knows? Who knows? I love this, though. This is cool. So it's just channeling lightning to anyone that's within range of the ability. She doesn't have to aim this. This is not a skill shot. You just activate it, float up into the air, and then you're just, shooting Sith lightning at everyone around you.
Correct. The light takes over and gives you this incredibly high damage OP heroic that everyone who's in range of should quickly get out of range of.
Oh, I love it, though. I love the lightning feel of this that we don't have in the Nexus. Like when we talked about Lei Shen, when we talk about heroes that have lightning attacks like Falstad, Lightning Hammer or whatever, that's not the lightning that I want. I want this Emperor Palpatine lightning to come out of someone's hands and, shock them, maybe even hold them in place. Stuff like that is really cool, and we don't have that yet.
No, and I can only imagine most of that is because I would assume the animation for lightning would be incredibly difficult just because of the random nature. But not only would it need to be random, but it would still need to have that shape, which in and of itself is kind of hard to mimic.
Yeah, and Ultra Mecha Jeff in the chat is saying, "Justice reigns from above?" ?
Justice reigns from above, indeed. Mercy flies in. All of a sudden, bombs are dropping. The light's going, what's going on, chick? This is supposed to be a holy purging, not some sort of bomb drop here. Get out, Farah, please. This is a holy endeavor.
I love it. Super cool. Okay, second heroic time. Let's hear it.
Okay, the second one involves me going through reading about these story quests that happened with Yrel. And I'm calling this Fight For Me. When pressed into a corner, Yrel can summon the champions that led her through the trial of the Exarch to fight for her. To summon and immediately target the enemy hero that has caused her the most damage. They either last as long as the timer or until they are killed, and she can heal them.
Awesome. So imagine this situation. You're in there. Attack the healer, attack the healer, attack the healer. Oh crap. I mean, that's really like an oh crap moment, right?
It is. I mean, this is the panic button, and this is especially cool if you're up against a team that is really intensely focusing you as the healer. So of course their higher damage heroes are going to have targeted you the most, which means more than likely these guys will go after that assassin and keep them at a range that is safe so you can keep your team going.
Oh, and at the whole time she's popping skill shot heals on them. Maybe they're in the heal beam as they chase down this assassin that tried to take her out. Oh, it's perfect. It's a really cool idea.
Yeah, and then we get some, well, I guess they would be player character, WoW characters. Maybe it pulls from the database, and randomly your hero's there.
Oh, that's really neat. I love that idea. I just think it's cool that it would turn on you for attacking the healer. She would probably pop this in a situation where she was in danger. I mean, you could have popped it offensively, but I think the most benefit might come defensively.
Certainly, if you don't have enough damage, maybe your team is inadvertently leaving you behind, which is leaving you open to some very serious damage, so that if they keep pushing forward but you're left behind, you're not left behind without any sort of defense.
Oh, it's so cool. Super cool. Okay, Kristen, it's time. It's time to sum it all up. If you had to sum up your support build of Yrel here, what would you say?
I would say you light up my life.
Hopefully. And if not, then the trait will probably help you out a little bit.
Exactly. So it doesn't matter if you're a beginner. You can light up somebody's life today with Yrel.
That's right. Just call 555-55555.
And order your paladin today.
Hope you love wings. All right, let's get into some skins and specialty dance moves here. This is probably one of our favorite parts of the show. So let's start with your specialty skin, Kristen.
Okay, I've got two tonight. The first one is a tiefling Yrel, and all you would need is to give her a red skin tint. Because I had a tiefling character in a D&D campaign, and I loved her, and I would love to bring her back. But what if we had a skin for her entitled Beastess of the Devil? And she now has a goat face. And she comes equipped with this classic occult imagery, serving a new master of a very different kind of light.
There it is. There it is. The Beastess of the Devil has made its way into a paladin. I love this. This is cool. I love when they take Illidan and they make him look like Malfurion, right? Like that just changes. It's just cool. It's a flop of what you picture these characters to be, and it doesn't get any more devout in my mind. It doesn't get any more holy than a paladin, and to just flip it on top of itself is such a cool idea.
Mm-hmm. And who doesn't love the demon skins for Tyrael and Ariel, or the angel skin for Diablo? It's basically getting to have an alternate universe character like this without needing to write much lore behind it at all.
Yeah, it's super cool. And maybe it has a little bit to do with where I drew the idea for my specialty skin. So this is from the wiki page on Yrel's character. It's saying that Yrel's character biography mentions that she carries a quote-unquote dark secret with her. Velen sensed it, and he foresaw that for good or ill, she had a larger role to play in the story. What this refers to, or if she is even aware of it, has not been revealed in the World of Warcraft. It's possible that it's abandoned plot thread from the alpha, but I'm doubting it. I think this is a legit thing. So I'm saying that through this entire time she's got a little secret, so I'm giving her a Professor Snape Yrel skin. What's your dark secret?
Ooh, so would this be, I guess Snape. Oh, I was thinking of Voldemort, and would Voldemort be on the back of her head? But I like the Snape thing, so you'd give her dark robes, right?
Yeah, she'd be like a Hogwarts teacher kind of thing instead of, because, Snape, he's got a secret through the whole book that you don't know about. All of these books, 7 books, and then at the end you find out what it is. Not necessarily a dark secret, but carrying a secret. So that's what I'm going with here.
Yeah, and a secret that affects the entire story once you find out what it is. So would she do things that would kind of hint at a secret? And if so, what secret would you give her?
I don't know. It's yet to be revealed. I really have no idea. I think maybe I hope that they do things like this where they sit there and they go, you know what? We're going to give her a secret, but we don't even know what it is. And when the time comes, they'll be like, hey, we need somebody to have done this thing a long time ago. And they go, oh, wait, we got a big database of people that have secrets that we can use. Oh, that would be Yrel. Yeah, she actually was really friendly with the Naga. And then you go back in the thing and it shows up.
That, or you're just going through forums because all of the fans know that she has a dark secret. So now the postulations have begun. And so now you don't even have to do the work anymore.
That's right.
You drop the idea and you let the internet go.
Hey, they got a lot going on over there. Okay, so just drop the idea and let the people think it out. Now, also on that same wiki page, it says that a lot of people feel like she is a Joan of Arc character. So there'd be a really cool Joan of Arc Crusader type skin in there as well, which I'm sure if they brought her in, they would do cross-platform with, Joanna and that kind of stuff where it has that, Crusader kind of feel to it.
That would be pretty wicked. They'd cut her hair. Maybe her horns would be chopped off or something because she'd be so battle-hardened. Oh, that would be pretty wicked.
So moving on to dance moves here. I'm laughing because I remember what I wrote down here. So in the same wiki, there's a lot of really random stuff. There's another draenei that you encounter when you first meet Yrel and you're in this questing phase, and this other draenei yells at her as you're walking away and says, hey, you still owe me 6 copper. And Yrel basically says to you as the character, we need to run away right now because I do owe her 6 copper and we got to get out of here because I can't pay her 6 copper, right? And then they never address that again, ever, I guess. So I thought that she would do this dance called the money dance. And the money dance is this hip hop dance where you're basically throwing money up into the air and doing this hip hop dance. That is my justification and inspiration for Yrel's dance move.
I like it, but that also means she's not as holy as one would believe. She doesn't pay her debts.
She's not a Lannister.
You don't pay your debts.
She is not a Lannister. She does not pay her debts. And this is all true story. And I have a link in the show notes, which you can find on our website, to the money dance if you would like to see what Yrel would do. What is your dance move?
I thought we could do something cute like a goat charge, because a lot of people refer to the draenei as goat people. So what if she kicks her little hooves into the ground, pretends to charge, and she does a little headbutt? And whatever direction you aim the dance. It's not really a dance. It's just a little goat movement. As a hats off to all of you people who lovingly refer to them as goats.
Goat people. Yes, we need goat people in the Nexus. That was one of the few threads that inspired this episode. I'm telling you. This is great, though. I mean, it would be a cool little, going back into, whatever feeling she had. Maybe this was the actual dance of her people or whatever it was.
Maybe, and I mean, sure, they come from a different planet, and we kind of have some extended lore as to what they are, but what if that wasn't true? What if goats and draenei diverged millions of years ago, but they still share an ancient ancestor?
And this is just the remnants of that ancient ancestor. Also, chat is saying that would be a really good taunt as well. That would be a really cool taunt, maybe, with the hoof.
That's true. And also, here's a question. Okay, so rams have the horns so that during mating season they can hit one another and vie for females. Do female draenei vie for males? Do the males vie for females? What purpose do these horns serve, or have they evolved to a point where they no longer need to perform such a barbaric ritual?
I have no idea. If anyone knows that, email it to us. That would be very interesting. And with all of that, even the goat dance, we can say that these heroes were forged.
Hero Forged.
Pretty fly for a draenei. That's 100% correct, chat. 100%. So, Kristen, final thoughts on Yrel here. Do you think this is a character that would make its way into the Nexus? I mean, I think with all of these that we talk about, it's definitely possible.
I think she could. I don't know if they would pass over Velen for her just because of how big Velen currently is in the storyline and how big he has been throughout the history. But at the same time, if you wanted to introduce a female draenei, she would be a great choice.
Oh, absolutely. And, you know, we have multiple orcs, we have multiple humans in the game. I think there's a basis here to build multiple draenei in the game, and she's definitely one of the named ones that is prominent in the story that could definitely be there. And paladins are awesome because you can build them any sort of way, like we talked about at the very beginning. So there's a lot of opportunity to do a lot of different things with her that I think is really powerful.
Yep, and you could do warrior, you could do support. I mean, any role really. And maybe the first time they introduce a draenei, they'll be able to fill every role. That could be the hero that introduces an individual that could suffice in any and every role.
And totally, and Draven in the chat is saying that it could be a DPS as well. I mean, you could really do anything with the paladin, which is really cool for them to be able to, you know, have a blank slate and say, okay, what kind of paladin do we want to make this character? So paladins are pretty versatile when it comes to that. Okay, that is Yrel. Thank you so much for listening, everyone. If you'd like to vote on which one of these two builds you think was your favorite, your absolute favorite, you can give it your vote on Twitter. Again, our handle on Twitter is @ForgeHeroes. We're looking for a lot of votes this week. We want to build the voting up, and the winner gets to choose the hero next week, which is going to be at 1 o'clock Pacific on Sunday, not 7 o'clock Pacific on Sunday evening. So, Kristen, where can people find you in the interwebs when you're not on this show?
In the interwebs, you can find me at Dream Destroyer, that is DRMDESTRYR, over at Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, and Instagram.
And the streams, what are we working on now?
The streams, we are into the DLC Blood and Wine for Witcher 3, and we are having a blast with Batman Arkham City. The other night, we spent hours with the simulated VR, and then we fought Ra's al Ghul yet again, and found out, I have a theory now, Ra's al Ghul is secretly Wolverine, because in the fight, there are these Wolverine claws that come up from the sand and chase after you. He's also got the hair.
We're crossing DC and Marvel. I mean, this is the thread that no one has seen that ties it all together.
This is the secret Marvel and DC doesn't want you to know.
It's also Liam Neeson. That's all I gotta say. Liam Neeson. If you're looking for me, you can find me right here on Heroes Forge. We record the show live every Sunday night at 7 p.m. Pacific. Again, next week it'll be at 1 o'clock Pacific in the afternoon. And also you can check out our website, which is heroesforge.club, where we have all of the other episodes and show notes from each episode. That's heroesforge.club. If you have an idea for a hero that you'd like to see on the show, or be part of our featured Forger episode where we take an idea or a kit that was sent to us from the community and talk about it on the show, send us an email. You can send us an email, contactheroesforge@gmail.com, or the contact tab on our website, or you can send us a tweet. You can get a hold of us in a whole bunch of different ways. Thank you again to all of our patrons that help support this show on patreon.com/heroesforge, and for everyone that's given us a 5-star review on iTunes. The Twitch chat is always rocking and rolling while we're doing the show, and you guys are also awesome. Also, if you're looking for this show, you can find it on any of your favorite podcasting apps, including iTunes. All you have to do is search for HeroesForge, all one word, and you'll find it right there. We're also on YouTube at youtube.com/HeroesForge, and you can find a link to all of this on the website, heroesforge.club. All right, Kristen, it's Game of Thrones times. Any final thoughts on Yrel before we move on?
I think if built correctly, she could bring the versatility that paladins need to be respected more by me alone, which is really important.
It's the most important thing out there. I totally agree. And remember to always pay your debts, and we will catch you all in the real world.